Welcome to Creation Crochet, where beautiful is easy. Okay, so I've completed my little sample square for you, and you can see now, as I said, it starts to look a little less wonky. It starts to get a little more straight as you work, and in a longer piece, it's going to happen a little bit sooner. But we've completed this little square here so that I can show you how to do the edging. Now this particular pattern ends on a wrong side row. So in a way to tell this, it's going to be an even row. But a way to tell is that when you're working, when you have finished a wrong side row, the tail, beginning tail is going to be at your right. When you have finished a right side row, the beginning tail is going to be at your left. Another way to tell is the wrong side rows are even numbers and the right side rows are odd numbers. So we end on a wrong side row. And this is because our edging is 3 rows and I want them to end on a right side row. So we are going to change colors so that you can see exactly where my stitches are going. So we're going to change the color the same way on our last yarn over. Going to yarn over with the new color, hold the 3 tails here, pull through. Now again, I'm going to put that knot in my work. And you have to determine whether you want to leave your knots or not. As I said, if it's something you're going to wear, wash, use often, you might want to leave those knots. And since this is something I'm planning on wearing and washing often, I'm going to leave my knots. All right, so this part of the edging is much easier than these raw edges. Though this is not really super difficult, this is just a little easier. So we start here with this edging. Now the way I work this edging is I do all 3 rows of my edging on this side, and then I do, actually this side, then I'll do the 3 rows of my edging on this side. So I don't work around the piece. I complete one side edging completely, then I move to the next side. The reason I do this is because I want to have square corners. I don't want to have extra stitches in my corners to contend with, and I don't want to have rounded corners. So to begin this first row of edging, you're going to chain 1, you're going to turn your work, and you're going to do 2 single crochet into that first stitch. Then you're going to skip the next 3 double crochet, and into the chain space you're going to do 4 single crochet, and that's the stitch repeat. Now just like with beginning this pattern, it looked quite wonky to begin with. This first row of edging and even the second row of edging a little bit is still going to look a little wonky, but it will work out in the end, so just trust me. All right, so skip the next 3 double crochet and do 4 single crochet into the chain 3 space. 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip the next double crochet and do 3 single crochet into the chain 1 space. I'm sorry, 4 single crochet into the chain 3 space. Skip 3 double crochet, do 4 single crochet into that last chain 3 space, and now you're going to skip the next 2 double crochet and you're going to just do a single crochet in that last stitch. Now as I said, it's going to look a little wonky at first, but we're going to do 2 more rows of edging and it's going to even out. Now these next 2 rows of edging are super simple because we're just doing a single crochet in every single crochet. So chain 1 and turn, single crochet in the first, and just single crochet in every single crochet to the end. So that couldn't be simpler there. Now, as I said, the edging on the other side is a little more complicated. You are going to be placing your stitches a little more strategically, or it's going to be a little harder to place them, I should say. But we'll get through it just like this, and that's really the hardest part of the pattern. So let me finish up this row of single crochet, and then I am going to chain 1, turn my work, and single crochet once more in the opposite direction, and I will show you that in just a moment. All right, so I finished up my 3 rows of edging, and as you can see, It's more straight. It's not absolutely perfect, but it's where we need it to be for our purposes. Now in this edging, I've done all 3 rows of my edging in the same color, which is what I did for the first sample that is also worked in these colors. You're going to see in my second sample that I did something different. The last row of my edging is worked in a different color. And this just gives a little visual appeal, which if you haven't seen already, you will see. So if you decide you like the way the second sample looks, then you're just going to change color for the last row of edging. Gets a little tricky because you're going to have to change colors a lot, and when you do the next row, you're going to have to change back to the first color. But it's just a little extra added fun thing you can do if you'd like. Now, we worked this entire top section. Now we're going to work this side section. So we're going to chain 1 and turn, so that you're going to be working into the raw edge of our stitches. Now the first stitch you do has to go into the side of the stitch you just ended with. So that side of that single crochet, you're just going to do a single crochet there. Now you're going to single crochet in the end of the next row, and you're going to single crochet in the end of the next row. Now a little trick for having neater work when you edge is to always make sure you are not working around the stitch, but you're working through the stitch and through 2 loops of the stitch. So for the rest of this, we have rows that end in double crochet and rows that end in single crochet. And really these rows that are ending in double crochet are really a chain 3 because it was the beginning chain 3 of the row. So all of our rows began with a chain 3 and ended with a single crochet. But when you're working on just one side, it's double crochet, single crochet, double crochet, single crochet. And really it's chain 3, single crochet, chain 3, single crochet. Now you are going to place a single crochet into each of these 3 chains and a single crochet into the single crochet row. So every 2 rows are going to have 4 single crochet. It's a little tricky as to getting them in there. Now if you really can't get them in the stitch, if it's a little too complicated, that's fine. You can work around the whole post of this chain 3 if it's easier for you. And in that case, you're going to do 3 single crochet in this chain space right here. And then you're going to do 1 single crochet in that single crochet row. I prefer the look, and I recommend that you work in 2 loops. So you're going to need to find the first chain. Now, if you can see, I've inserted my hook and I'm pulling up in between the chains. So I'm going to do a single crochet there. I'm going to work into the next chain. Sometimes they're a little hard to work into as well because they are chains, and that's why I recommended making them kind of looser when you are making the pattern so that they're not too tight to work into. So I'm going to do another single crochet. This here is the last chain. I'm going to do another single crochet. So now I've done 3 single crochets in each of these chains, and I'm going to do another single crochet in the row here that ended with a single crochet. And as you work these, you'll start to develop a pattern. It will be easier for you to see where you're working your stitches because you're going to be doing it in the same spot each time. But it is tricky the first time you do it. So don't feel bad if you can't get it the first time and you just work around that chain space. That is absolutely fine. I just prefer to do it this way because it's a little neater. It is a little harder though, so you have to decide which is more important to you. It doesn't look bad to do it the other way. So if that's easier for you, then you just go ahead and do it that way. And you can practice doing it this way if you'd like. All right, so I've done those. Now I'm going to work into the single crochet. Now the single crochets where you do color changes are going to be a little tight. And you might even have to just work into the space for those sections like I am having to do here. All right, I'm on my next chain 3 row. You can see I'm having to fight to get my hook in there. Sometimes if you run into that problem, I'm going to show you a trick that I do sometimes. Take a smaller hook and I work into that space and I just kind of make it just a little bit bigger for myself to work into. You can use your needle, you can use a smaller hook, and now when I go in, usually it's a little more opened up. Now I'm going to work into my last chain. And now I'm going to work into the single crochet. All right, so I've got one more section to do. So that's the first chain. There's the second chain. I just worked into one loop there, so I'm going to take that out and redo that. Sometimes it's tricky to grab 2 loops, but again, it does give you a more secure kind of finish, and it does look a little bit better. I split my yarn there. Okay, so I have finished. So I've done the hardest part that you're going to do in this pattern. Done the hardest part of this row. Now I'm going to finish working this entire edging row. I'm just going to work back and forth in rows, chain 1, turn, single crochet. I'm going to do the same thing I did on this edge and do all 3 rows. All right, I almost made a mistake in my edging myself. So we're not going to end at the end here. You need to continue up the first 3 chains here for this next, for the bottom row. Okay, so we're going to work those chains, 1 single crochet, and then in the 3rd chain we are going to work, no, I'm sorry, we just work 1. All right, so we worked the side stitches and we worked the first 3 chains here for the beginning row. Now we're going to work back in the same fashion that we did before. So we're going to chain 1, we're going to work all the way to the end, chain 1, and work all the way back to this corner. Okay, so I have finished working this second edge. All right, now we're going to work this edge here, which was the beginning row we started with. So we're going to chain 1. And again, we have to work into the stitches we just made. So the first stitch is going to go into that side of the single crochet we just did. And you're going to work into the next single crochet. And the last for the edges. So you're going to have 3 rows of edging. You're going to work 3 single crochet. And now we're going to work 1 single crochet into the stitch and 1 single crochet into the next. All right, and now we're going to skip the rest of the stitches and we're going to do the same thing where we work 4 single crochet into every chain 3 loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip the stitches in between. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. But we need to finish this last one off. We can't just leave it hanging. So we're going to work into the very base of the chain from the side. We're just going to put another single crochet there. Now again, this is going to look wonky, this first row that we do. We're going to chain 1 and single crochet all the way to the end, chain 1 and single crochet all the way back to this corner. All right, so we have done the third edging, the third side of the edging now. And as you can see, it doesn't look wonky any longer. It looks nice and even and straight. We have one more edge to do. Now again, this is tricky, like the other raw side edge. Just tightening up my knots that I'm going to leave in here. So you need to make sure you're doing your single crochets here. So again, we're going to chain 1. We should have chained 1 and turn. We're going to work into the base of that last single crochet, or the side of that single crochet, to edge it. Work into the next stitch and into the last stitch there. And now we're going to edge this side the same. We are going to do a single crochet at the end of every single crochet row, and we are going to work 3 single crochets into each row that ends in a, or began with a chain 3. So it's actually definitely going to look different from this direction, because again, you're coming from the opposite direction than what you worked through when you did the first side. So it's going to look a little bit different. You just have to be mindful again to just make sure that you are crocheting the correct amount. Now I'm going to show you what you would do if you were going to chain into those, around those chains. I explained it on the other side, but I didn't show it. But I'm going to show you now. If working into the stitches is too difficult for you, you can just work around the posts of the stitch. And then in the row that ends in single crochet. So we did that one. Now we're back up to a chain 3. So you can just work around those chain 3, and then work into the stitch here, sorry, for the single crochet. And you can see it just looks a little bit different. It doesn't look bad. It's going to look different for this row. It will again even out on the next row, which I will show you. And then when you get to the end here, you're just going to work into these stitches for the first row of edging that you did. You'll need to work 3 single crochet there. And then again, you're going to chain 1 and turn and work all the way back this opposite direction. So I've finished all 3 rows of this edging.